You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. Spring is here. I'm so excited. Spring is finally here. And, the weather is, I guess, finally trying to act right. The weekend was pretty good here in Philadelphia. So, it was a lot of people out and about. I will just definitely say that. It was a lot of spring fever. I'm still keeping the mask on. I'm still wearing a sweater. I'm not fully ready to go all out yet. I'm not fully sold yet. But maybe a couple of more days, maybe 2 consistent weeks of good weather. Because let's be real, a week ago, there was like a whole snow flurry monsoon situation going on. So this weather plays in my face. Philly weather plays in my face. And I'm not about to sit up here and act like I'm 100% sold on either. But it was nice. This weekend was nice. The weather was pretty good. It was a little rainy last night, but for the most part, no snow, no sign of snow. Let's keep it going. Climate change. I had to, knock on that wooden table right here because I just have to make sure that we good, because this is a lot of stuff going on. But, I will say this. This is a little... I will say this much. So I've been really enjoying the revitalization of spring. And one of the things that I do when there's a new season is I get a facial. I get a seasonal facial. My skin is pretty good. There's no surprise to anyone. I used to think that it was just water and rest. But clearly genetics play a role in it, right? And maintenance, right? Because I have to also maintain this good skin. But I always do a seasonal facial where I, get a really good facial. I got a Cairo facial, which is this cooling technology thing. It is the best damn facial I've had. I got it at Hand & Stone, which is my favorite, wellness center. I get my massage there. I get my facials there, and they're fabulous. I just, I get a monthly massage. I do my 2-hour Himalayan Himalayan salt stone hot. It's a hot stone in 2 hours, and it's like a sweetest massage, deep tissue, all that with CBD oil. It relaxes me. It's always, and I always get it on time. Like every time I get the massage, I'm on yes, this is the perfect time to get this massage. If there was ever a time to get it, this was the right time this month to do it. So I always get it towards the 3rd week of the month, and it's so good. It always relaxes me. It just always puts me in the level of zen. And again, it's necessary. I always tell people, you have to really invest in your wellness. And people look at me and they see the results, right? I do a lot of intense work every single week. I need to be in a space where I look and feel good. In spite of all of the shocking news that I have to, break and cover and things. And I think a lot of people, regardless of whether you're a journalist, whatever you do, whether you work in the health profession, whatever, everyone deserves to really invest or take that time to get into your wellness. And I really am serious about it, just for myself and things. I think a lot of people run off and do vacations and stuff. I don't have the time to always go on vacation. But if I could create paradise on earth or paradise in Philly for myself, then that's what I'll do. And that's what I've been doing. And it's been fabulous. So I got my face reset, I'll do another one in the summer. I think I'm going to do more often, but I don't need them as much. But I try to do a really good facial every summer, every season. Because I feel like it just, the face needs to get ready for the new that's going to come. And then 3 months later, another facial, So I do about 4 times a year. That's been the pattern thus far. And I think it's good. Now, I know some people that get facials every month or whatever. They get it like that. And, maybe that's what they need. I'm 30 and you see genes have stepped in places that facials don't need to be. So I do it seasonal, but it's necessary. And I don't know, where is this stereotype about men and gender? Men don't get facials or men don't and stuff. Listen, we all need to get facials if we can. We all need to be invested in skincare. I don't know why there is this like, oh, women should only be worried about serum. No, everyone should be invested. I mean, I think when you look in the mirror, you should want to care about how you look. And just rubbing water and bar soap on your face as a guy is just not it. Invest in some skincare. It doesn't cost that much. You can go to a CVS, because you know I love CVS. Go to CVS. There's plenty of great men's skincare products that are like under $20 that will get you ready. Okay? Invest in skincare. Give a fuck about how you look, y'all. I mean, on a level that is about hygiene, okay? I'm not asking about surgeries and Botox stuff. If that's what you do, by all means, if you can afford that, do that. But I'm just saying, people, get invested in hygiene. And that's something we learned during the pandemic. Hygiene matters. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in my section about COVID, because, woo, these masks have went off and things have definitely come back into the environment. But anyway, I've been enjoying spring and loving it. You know, I got my nails done again. I'm, Oscars. The Oscars are next week. I'm super excited. I'm going to a really good Oscar watch party. Mr. Johnson, I've been going to for years. And I said, I'm going to get my nails Oscar Go, which is like basically my nail technician. She says, she calls these the Ernest nails. At my salon, because this is a pattern I've done. No one has done this design at the shop at all. So what I do is I get a metallic gold tip, and then I get a glittery color that matches it. So sometimes, like, I'll get the metallic gold tip and I'll get like the gold glitter as the base. Sometimes I switch out and do that with the silver metallic look, but I want to do gold. And this is for my Oscars party, because I'm going to do a really nice, Oscar gold themed outfit. It's going to be black and gold. That's going to be my look. And Mr. Johnson is doing a really nice color. He loves to wear bold colors for parties. It's so funny because we always do opposite of our personality. So I'm like very lively and eccentric. And sometimes I will match my mood with the clothes I wear. But I always find that my personality is very more like out there, buzzy and social. And then I always wear clothes that are very neutral and chill and calm. He's the opposite. He's very like chill, very laid back, but the clothes he wears are very like buzzy and electric. And so that's been our theme as a couple over the past couple of years in our fashion. And so we're going to do the same thing at the Oscars party. So when you go on Instagram, you look at our outfits, you're going to be like, I get it, But see, let me tell you about me though. I throw a couple of things in my mix. I keep it very much solid and neutral sometimes. And then sometimes I show out and show up depending on what the vibe is and personality. But one thing about me, I'm going to always have a badass shoe. So the shoes will be crazy. And the jewelry and accessories and the nails, it's like the little details for me that pop out. He's like, look, I'm not going to go into all the details with the accessories. He's more like, what's the boom? What's the effect? And that's been our like, I guess our fashion love language when we go out to things. Because if we both are wearing like shimmery gold, it's just too much. Or if we both looking like, we don't give a fuck. What's the point? So we always do this complimentary thing. And it matches and it's so fun. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. But I have been having a good time going out a little bit more to some things. Well, for starters, you all have been seeing those chicken tenders from Federal Donuts. So Federal Donuts is no longer doing the whole chicken and thighs and all that they used to do, which I used to love. Chicken and donuts was my thing. They're now doing chicken tenders and they're everything. So I got a chance to try them. It was a big damn deal because I've been going to Federal Donuts for like 8 years. I've been going to Federal Donuts since I was in college, and like when they first opened, it was just like chicken wings and these really good donuts, but they've become a big market. And of course, my good pal Michael Solomoff, he's like killing it. So he has a new location on 19th and Sansom with Federal Donuts. It's right next to Goldie, and Dizengoff is inside that Goldie location, and it's great. But they let me taste test these new chicken tenders, which people love me to come and try their food. And when it's really good, and I know it's going to be good, then I go. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go all the way for that. Not him, but other people who sometimes offer. But this was like a top secret thing. And it was also a big change for foodies around Philly that were like into this. Like, this is a big damn deal. So I got to try them and everything, and I've been addicted to them. So on Instagram, I was shouting them out, and my nails that I previously had, they were getting, like nails fade. Like, the gel nails, they chip. But I keep up with my nails. But anyway, I knew I was going to get them fixed the next day. So I was like, no one will mind. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you about y'all on that damn Instagram. The moment they saw those nails, they said, "Oh my goodness, are you okay?" I'm like, "What are you talking?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm great." Someone in the comments, "Oh, I saw your nails. I was worried about your nails." I was like, "Oh, they're fine." I mean, they're not fine, but like they're okay. Now I understand women. I understand women. I understand. I get it now. I get it. Now that I got in the nail game, I can't slip. I thought my male privilege was gonna save me. Like, oh, at least he's putting on nail polish. At least he's, trying to do something with his nail. No, 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 no. You are like, no, fuck that. If you're gonna do your nails, they gotta be on fleek. They gotta be right. Okay. And since I use so much handography, like I use my fingers to like show things, I guess people were really, so I teased that I went back to Federal Donuts this weekend and got some wings, and I showed the new nails because I was teasing, and I was like, if you know, you know. But it's just, it's just funny, and it was, you guys are hilarious. So no, it was definitely comical. But the nails are done; they're good. All is good with the nails. For those who are curious. So, not that this is a tough topic, but I also thought this was interesting to bring up. So I've been, a lot of you all last this weekend, I went to a birthday party for a friend who had her birthday at the Fiddler Club. And a lot of people have been asking about my thoughts about Fiddler Club and going out to Fiddler Club and all this and jazz. And am I a member? Why am I not a member? Am I a member? Is it good? Is it worth it? Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Let me just say this. For this is gonna be, you know what? Listen, if you listen to this podcast and you have some thoughts, DM me on Instagram. I will respond to you about this topic because I know this is gonna be a little, I know that word of mouth is gonna get around about this, and I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna need to say what needs to be said. I'm just gonna give my opinions about it. So for starters, Fiddler Club is this new private club. Well, it's been around for a couple of years, but out of all the long private clubs around town, Pyramid Club, which I went to this week, Union League, which I was at this week. I went to all the clubs this week. Everyone had something going on at all of these private clubs. So Union League is like one of the oldest. Then you have Racket Club, or I guess the Racket Club. I don't think I've ever been inside of there. Pyramid Club, I was there for many, many moons. I've been there many, many times. I know the place up and down. And then, of course, there's Fiddler Club, which I've been frequently as well because I know people with memberships and stuff. So Fiddler Club is supposed to be like the young millennial-esque vibe, the thing that's trying to get young professionals. So, young millennials and, millennials, period, right? Let me be clear. Millennials, period, and then young Gen Xers. So that's like the direction that they're going. They're going for like millennials and young Gen Xers. That's their base. But there's like a lot of like tech, finance people, folks there who can afford to spend that money. And even people who can afford. So let me go. The under 30 rate, if you're under 40 or your 30s or whatever the rate is an initiation fee that's like close to $3,800. And then it's $350 a month, and then you have to also spend at least $75 at the bar. So it's $425 a month, and you must pay the non-refundable like $37.50, the $3,800, nearly $3,800 initiation fee. So that's how it works. And you get like to go there and frequent. You can use the gym there. You can like rent out space, I suppose. You get access to the restaurant, but you have to pay for the food and the drink. You get to use like the space for office space, like you come in and use your Wi-Fi and be there and do your work, whatever. So it's a thing of that nature. There's a lot of parties. You can invite guests, of course, and things like that. But pretty much it's your club. So when I heard about this, the thing about me and why I have never been crazy about memberships at clubs or spending that kind of money. For starters, I don't think I like any place that I feel like I have to go to every month in that kind of way. Like I have a co-working space at, Pipeline that I do work from, but that's like an office space, a co-working space to do business and work. But I feel like with Fiddler Club and everything that comes with it, like initiation, all this mumbo jumbo. I don't think there's one place I would want to be to socialize. Like I just don't think like if you're gonna ask me to spend $425 a month to go to a particular location or whatever, and that's how much I have to pay to be there, right? That's not going towards food or drink or whatever. I, I don't know if I am that pressed to be at one location like that. Like I would rather spend that on a monthly membership that goes to credits towards getting a facial massage. Like my massage membership at Hand and Stone is like $65 a month, but I'm getting a massage. And I can add on and get special discounted rates to take care of whatever, to get other additional things. Why would I, like, I have other memberships at places that like provide me a service or a thing. I just don't know if there's a place that's just a place that I would just spend that much money on every month just to go to. And quite frankly, because I'm a social butterfly, I like to go to different places. I don't like to be in the same echo chamber with the same types of people all the damn time. I just personally don't like not even talking about who I am and my influence or whatever that is. Like, let's just take that aside. I'm just saying personally, I don't know if I would ever want to just be paying a membership. Like, especially if I have a job or I work from home or I got an office space. I just don't know if I want to belong and be at something like that. Now, if you're a multimillionaire, whatever the case is, and that's like your thing, I guess. But I just feel like that's just, I don't know, waste of money, in my opinion. Because I already have a life, and I feel like you should go out in the city. You should be different places. Like, Philadelphia is not like, a small town. Like, it's not like Ithaca, New York or something. It's a area that has a bunch of different things going on places. So, like, why would you want to commit yourself to one, like, silo? I think it's a status thing. I guess it's a form of elitism. Say, I belong to this club. I guess. But as somebody who's been to the Ivy League and been to all these, listen, they're pretty much all the same. Like, you could be, the funny part is the people that's at the Fiddler Club that are there, I guess I see them everywhere else. So, like, there's no need for me to be spending that money to be there. It's weird. And then second of all, I feel like if I am there, I would not want to be somewhere. I wouldn't be able to let my hair down because it's like all of these very, known people. Like, when I went to the birthday party, I saw folks and I was like, oh, like, I mean, my spidey senses, I was like, ooh, So, like, I feel like I would want to be in a ducky spot. Like, I have my own bars and spots I like to go to in Philly where I don't know anyone, or most those people don't know me, or it was just very chill. Like, I feel like a club like that, you got to put on. Like, it's a thing. Like, there's an expectation. Like, when I went to the birthday party, I was dressed to impress. I looked good. I was there to celebrate my friend. I was there on that, like, energy. But I feel like, what if I'm not? What if I just want to go somewhere and get a damn drink? I'm not going to want to get a drink at a place where, like, literally the mayor's staff, the chief of staff of here, this tech guru. Like, I just find that just like, ew. Like, I don't know. I just would never want to be in an environment where I'm spending that much money where I can't let my hair down. Because you really can't let your hair down in a place like that. You really can't. Like, it's not the place to do that if you want to keep your career. Personally, I just. But, again, I think it's the look of elitism. It's the look of that, which I in this day and age, people desire that still after the pandemic. Should have taught us a couple of things, but I digress. So I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, okay, so that is like my personal, like, turn off. Like, I would rather go somewhere, like, there's places for that and there's places to just unwind. And I just feel like I wouldn't want to be a member of like spend that kind of money and be a member of some club like that. I would rather use that for so many other things, like put that into my monthly package at Hand and Stone or just other things. I don't know. I don't know. People have asked me, and I get it. Like, I go out a lot, so I see people a lot, and I get it. But even then, it's like, would you like want to be at the same place, eat the same food, drink the same drinks like that? Like, wouldn't you want to broaden your palate? And the food is not bad. I mean, the food is okay. It's not the best thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever. It's kind of okay. It's better than average. I wouldn't say phenomenal. The drinks are strong. They're okay. But they're like $17, $18 cocktails. Listen, you can have money, you can have things, but you're still gonna always be like, that's me. I just don't believe in wasting because I didn't come from money. So I just don't believe in wasting it now. I would rather donate it or do something else with it. And I think that's the thing with me that makes me kind of like ill and cringy to social clubs and private clubs in that way. But then I also had a moment. I was talking to Mr. Johnson about this and my friends actually. We were having this conversation like after we left the party. And they were like, well, why won't you you shouldn't even pay for a membership there. And I was like, you're right. Like I said to myself, they want me, there's people that, that run the club stuff. Like I'm always there. My mindset is like this. Why should I, of all people, be paying for a membership to go to something like that? I went in there and they had a marketing slideshow. People went in there and my face, my presence, a picture of me was there in their marketing. And I'm not even a member. And I think to myself, I never understood the complaint of other, I guess, known people or influential people, celebrities, whatever that there's this thing now where I feel like people using your likeliness to market or sell something or the presumption of something or what your value is in those dynamics, especially as Black people who are influential in their own right? When we tag restaurants, when we promote stuff, we're marketing in many ways to get people to go there. If I'm going to do something like that, there needs to be some type of reparation involved in some sense, whether my meal is being comped, whether I am being paid to do it, or there's some type of complimentary situation involved. Like I'm not going to pay to be a walking billboard. Can you imagine, like you think about Rihanna or other folks that go to nightclubs or something, right? When they go, they get VIP service. They don't pay. People pay them for club appearances because you are what is making people want to go to that thing. And in the Philadelphia scene, especially the millennial scene, I recognize my influence and power in the sense that if I'm going somewhere and I'm eating something or I'm at a party or I'm tagging, that's drawing in attention and business there. And there's a lot of companies that don't value and respect Black people of influence. They don't respect Black creators. They don't, respect Black talent. And so they will basically think that you should do the same rule book by everybody else, but your likeliness and your likelihood is being used to help push and market that. So I would refuse to pay on principle because of the fact that when I go there and people see me and clearly the photos are there, you're using that to market and get other people to go because they're under the impression that people like me and folks like me are there. And that might not even be accurate. I mean, it's gotten more accurate for the Fiddler Club, but when the Fiddler Club first came out, it definitely was not as Black as I saw it when I went this weekend. And it's many people like myself and others that have tagged it, that has went there, that people know, that has been in many ways used to push it. I'll be damned if I pay to resurrect a damn club that thought that they were going to get white techies and then realized that young Black people with money was going to save the day. I'll be damned if I pay for that. So, listen, I know influence and I know my value and I've put my foot down about that kind of stuff because, people will just, they don't do that. They don't do that with the white girls on TikTok. They don't do that with the white dudes on YouTube. They don't do that with them. But with Black people, they always have this assumption, especially young Black people, that, this is great. You should be happy that I'm reaching out to you. I'm like, no, I know what this is giving. I know my value. I know what I'm worth. I have an agent, I have a team, I have a lawyer. Listen, every day we're saying no. We're saying no every day to people who try it. And they were saying yes to people that respect, right? And I didn't, the older I get, the more I begin to be aware of that. And all of you all have influence in your own way, right? They're in different ways, right? You're that Black person who's only Black person in your diversity team or your white team. And like, there's stuff that they want you to do to make them look good, but they're not talking about, some type of equity in that, right? That's what that means. Like recognizing that if you're doing a disproportionate level of value or work, you should be, compensated or respected or given some level of favor for that work, regardless of what level it is. And so that is why I will not be paying for a membership at the Fiddler Club because I know my value and I know my worth. And I just personally feel like for so many of the reasons I mentioned above, and even where I'm at now, like, nah, Nah. Especially when some of your rival clubs have asked me to join for free, and I said no because I didn't want to be affiliated with certain clubs. So, moving along, COVID. So listen. I don't want to be a doomsday person. I'm not. I just feel like every time I start to see people go back outside and I see large crowds, I start thinking, oh my God. Oh, I heard about what's going on in China right now. I'm like, oh, this is about to, don't get, no variant, no variant. I don't want another variant. I'm hoping for not another variant. But like, y'all, it's getting me kinking like, I don't know. I don't know. But I'll say this. I went out and listen, you all are not wearing masks. Not all of you all, but some of you all aren't. And breath, I forgot how bad people smell. And the mask has shielded me for a long time from bad breath. And now that people are not wearing masks anymore, it's just bad. And I've been doing this thing though, like when I encounter people with bad breath that's talking to me, it's like I don't want to be rude and like put my mask on. If I did take it off, right? But it's like I just have to figure this out. I have to figure it out. I don't know. When I'm outside, it's not as bad. But like when I was going to certain parties and people were drinking, like I could smell the liquor. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just been interesting. Oral hygiene, just encountering bad breath. And it's so weird because for a long time we was never going up to each other like that. Or we kept masks on and it was such a great experience. And now I'm like, I'm back to the bad breaths, back to the people who are like lisping or like talking and spit. Oh God. And I'm getting so scared. And it's like, I have to figure this shit out because I have not had COVID this entire pandemic. Praise. And I want to keep that. I want to keep a straight attendance record, you know? And for people who've had it already, I know people don't want to get it again. We got to figure this out. We got to figure this out because this is like, and it's like etiquette, but it's like, I got to figure this out because I'm like, I don't want to be the person like this one person, like I had to turn my head like the opposite way. I was looking at them, but I was given a, I need to hear you kind of thing. And I feel like when you're at a bar or anything, people are talking even louder. I'm like, no, it's just bad, y'all. And it's like, I had to turn my head the other way. So they were like, I was giving it, like, I was listening to them, but I didn't want their mouth in my, like, I didn't want to smell their breath. So I had to turn my head the other way. And so they were talking to me and I could feel some of their things on my pretty face. It was a lot. And it just made me think like, oh my God, like if the variant was going wild, I could literally get COVID right now. I could see how COVID spreads, like aerosols and shit. It was just that bad. Oh my goodness. It was, ooh. And Obama just got COVID not too long ago. Like, oh my God. Like, I just cannot. I have to figure it out. I have to. Because that was just too much. It really was, it was very triggering. And I don't even think people realize it because they're so comfortable now. And I'm comfortable, but I'm not that comfortable. Like, I switch out masks. I think I talked about this in my last podcast. Like, I switch out masks. There's some places where I will wear the surgical mask just so I can breathe. Like, if I'm outside, I wear the surgical mask outside because, you know, it's air. I want to breathe, whatever. But if I'm in my Uber or if I'm in a very crowded place, then I will put on the KN95 or whatever. I'll put that on, the N95 one. I'll put that one on and get serious. So I switch out my masks, you know, from time to time. Because I don't think that, you know, some situations I'm like, I don't want to waste my, you know, K95. I don't want to waste it on, you know, outside. Like, you know. But also I'm moving and, you know, we know the science is saying that COVID isn't spreading like that outside. But indoors, intense spaces where there's a lot of people and there's no social distancing, I'm putting on that K95 mask. But clearly I did not at the bar that night. And I just, oh goodness, I'm fine. I'm not sick. I don't have any symptoms. And what's funny? I've kept the Biden, I've gotten the tests. I have not used them yet. I had tests prior, so I've used those because, you know, I got tested. I was getting tested every week for a period of time. When before the crazy, stockpile issue happened with the COVID test, I had been one of the few people that was like, had got them like really fast because I was trying to, you know, when I was hearing about it. So I have tests. And so before the Biden administration came and sent them to us, I still have those. I don't know how effective those are though. I've just kept them on the table, but the ones I have, they're pretty good. And so I got tested Sunday, early Sunday, so I'm fine. But and of course, I went, to the party. What was that? Friday night. So I'm just staying woke. I think I'm fine. I don't have any allergies or anything like that. But just the experience, it's just, guys, just if your breath, mouthwash, something, just back up. Just give people a little space. Just, if you talk, if you the type that when you talk, you spit, you're grown. Okay. Children, I understand children. But if you're the kind of person that talk and keep a small bottle of TheraBreath, the mouthwash, it's so good. Keep some in your bag. Like I do. I have floss. Like I keep the little mini floss. I floss. I'm a serious flosser. And one of the things I do when I go out, right? When I go to restaurants, mostly restaurants, like if I go out to parties and stuff, what I'll do is if I finish for dinner, everything like that, I'll go to the bathroom and I'll do the, get that TheraBreath and mouthwash real quick in between when I'm in passing, just to, I'm just letting y'all know. If we're going to go out, if we're going to go back out, we need to make sure that the breath is in check. So, this Senate race. I have different thoughts about this Senate race over the week. We are now in petitions, the maps, everything is solid. Everyone's going out getting petitions. If you are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, if you're across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 9 times out of 10, you have either heard about candidates by now, people have asked you to sign a petition. Listen, if you don't know what that means, signing a petition for a candidate means that you're signing it so that they can run for office. Each of these candidates have to get a certain number of signatures to qualify to get on the ballot to run for office. If they do not have the amount of signatures by the deadline, they cannot run for office. So that's why when they come to you and ask you, do you live in an area? Can you sign it? They have to get signatures in their area. What you're signing is the opportunity for them to run. It's not an endorsement. It's not a vote. It's just basically allowing them to have the opportunity to run for office. So, if you really think a person should run for office, sign it. If there's somebody you're looking like, oh, hell no, you are not qualified to even be on the damn ballot, don't sign a petition. But most candidates, I would say, running, whether you care for them or not, I think, may represent a demographic of people that should allow themselves the opportunity to run. But there might be some people that you're absolutely not able to. Like, I don't know why anybody is signing Dr. Oz petitions. Dr. Oz should not be running for office, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, he's going to get the signatures. He's going to be on the ballot. And he's going to run in that Republican primary. But right now, and we have 3 candidates running for the Democratic primary, the nominee. They're trying to go for the nomination. It is John Fetterman, it is Malcolm Kenyatta, and it is Connor Lamb. So you all know who these characters are. We've talked about them every week for a minute. Well, this week there was a big deal about the city endorsement. So the Philadelphia Democratic City Committee endorsed Connor Lamb for the position. He's a moderate, and there's been a lot of talk about him being viable. As you know, John Fetterman has the most money in the race. Malcolm Kenyatta, I think, has the most endorsements in the race. And Connor Lamb has the most establishment union support in the race. So all of them have their own, identities, right? Fetterman is the highest in the polls, and he has the most money. Malcolm Kenyatta seems to have a broad band of support from a very diverse array of elected officials and in organizations. And Connor Lamb appears to have the larger support of the Democratic establishment in Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of different things that make all of them, unique in their own right? Fetterman has the lieutenant governorship title currently. Connor Lamb has the congressman position, and Malcolm Kenyatta is a state rep currently. So they all currently serve in office, or they have some political bona fides to their names. They're all elected officials at different levels. They all have money at different levels. So Fetterman has fundraised $10 million. Connor Lamb has fundraised, I think, around $5 million. Fetterman has about $5 million in the bank. Conor Lamb has about $3 something million in the bank as of the January 2022 campaign finance reports. Malcolm has roughly less than $300,000 in the bank. He doesn't have that much money, y'all. It's what he has in endorsements he don't have in money. It's that much of a glaring disparity. He's the only black person in the race. Fetterman and Lamb are both two white men. Fetterman is 37. Fetterman is 52. Conor Lamb is 37. Malcolm Kenyatta is 31. So two men in their 30s, two millennials, and then one Gen Xer. So there's that demographic. Two are from Western PA, one is from Philadelphia. Malcolm went to Temple and Drexel. Conor Lamb went to Penn, my alma mater, for undergrad, and he also went for law school there. Class of 2009, Penn Law. And Fetterman went to Albright, which I've never really heard of, but he went to Harvard for the Kennedy School for his master's in government. So, got two Ivy Leaguers, and you got one from Philadelphia schools all the way, that are non-Ivy. So two Ivy Leaguers. So you got a lot of different demographics shaping the race, identities and personalities. Malcolm is black and queer. Both Fetterman and Conor Lamb are both straight white men. Fetterman comes from money. Despite his blue-collar image that he currently has, he comes from money. Conor Lamb comes from a political family, comes from money as well, and comes from a very strong family of political influence and money as well. I know he has a family member that's like leading TD Bank. One of his other, his uncle ran for Auditor General a couple years back. Didn't win, but ran and got the party's nomination. But I believe lost the primary, but had got the party's nomination. I think he lost to Nina Ahmad, who got the nomination. Then she lost to Eugene, a black Republican, who beat her in the general. So it's, politics is so complicated. And even Nina Ahmad went against John Fetterman for lieutenant governor, she lost to him. She's definitely have ran and have lost. She's put a lot of her own money into those races as well. Lots of money. She has a lot of money, and she puts them in those races, and it just does not, secure a win for her. So it's been a thing. She's shaping up to be a perennial candidate in many ways. But who knows? She might run again and win. Isaiah Thomas ran 3 times back-to-back for city council, won his 3rd time. Maybe 3 times a charm for him. What was for him and maybe be for Nina Ahmad. Who knows? But, Fetterman, this is his 2nd time running for U.S. Senate. He's the only one who's ran, for Senate for a 2nd time. And then Malcolm, he's been a state rep. This is his first big race he's ran. Conor Lamb has ran for Congress, has won, has defeated, has had victories. He's beat Trump type of candidates in different ways. And many people are arguing in the establishment that he's viable because he could probably win, in November. Problem is he's struggling with name recognition. That's been reported. He's struggling with name recognition. Out of Malcolm Kenyatta, John Fetterman, and Conor Lamb, one would argue that Fetterman has the largest name recognition across the Commonwealth. Out of all 3 of them, he do. Now nationally, it's a little different because even nationally, John Fetterman is an MSNBC contributor. He's often on air, and so is Malcolm Kenyatta. So nationally, one would argue that maybe Fetterman and Malcolm Kenyatta both share more name recognition compared to Conor Lamb. Conor doesn't really do much media attention like in that kind of way. Now, what's interesting enough is that despite the fact that Fetterman is a big media person, one of his critiques has been that he hasn't really talked to the press during his campaign. And there's been speculation that he doesn't talk to enough black voters as much, even though I will say personally that I have seen him in Philadelphia, and he's been doing private visits to different groups, but he has not done the big old press media sweep. He hasn't had the press releases and things. He's been silently, his team has been moving through, and he has a very diverse campaign team as well. Malcolm Kenyatta's team is probably by far the most diverse. He's got the Working Families team behind him. That man doesn't run from a camera, y'all. He's always talking to media, both locally and nationally. Conor Lamb has definitely been engaging the media. He's been having some interesting relationships with different diverse groups, but his campaign team is pretty much labor. He's got a lot of labor union support behind him, and then some Democratic establishment support as well. So all of their flaws and critiques about each of them. Starting with Fetterman. Fetterman's biggest critique is they say he doesn't get along in Harrisburg. I guess we're going to go weaknesses and strengths. Weaknesses is that they say Fetterman does not get along well in Harrisburg. He's like the outsider, even though he's an incumbent. He's a lieutenant governor, but he doesn't seem to get along with the Democrats in his party. He's got a brash personality. And that's the one. Another detail that is oftentimes talked about largely more nationally, even though there's been some local chatter, but more so nationally, is the incident that involved him chasing down an unarmed black man in 2013. Now, people have asked me what my thoughts are about it, and I just would say that it's a complicated situation. If you ask me, if you ask my personal opinion, I think the situation is very complicated. Contrary to some folks who are in Conor Lamb's camp that are his fans. Not Conor Lamb, let me be clear, because Conor Lamb has not really spoken about this. Malcolm Kenyatta has spoken about it in the past, even though he's been good friends with Fetterman for many years, but it fell short as calling him a racist. He would not call John Fetterman a racist. So let me explain the incident as reported. There has been conflicting accounts, so I want to be very clear about those conflicting accounts and what I have found since the initial conversation that we had about this last podcast episode. But there's some new updates in more context that I was like baffled by. And I think definitely has, made me think about how I feel about it. More so that it's in favor of what's going on Fetterman. And then, of course, I'm going to get to, of course, Malcolm and Conor. Because I think at this point, we should all be talking about this race a little bit more. It is building up. So in 2013, in Broderick, which is a city that has a small town, but it's a majority black population, around 80% of the population at that time was black. 2013, Fetterman was the mayor. He heard gunshots, and other people had reported they heard gunshots in the neighborhood as well. Fetterman called the police about the incident, went outside with his gun. He saw this black man running in jogging clothes. He says that because of the way his back was turned, he never saw his face when he pursued him. So he just saw someone running and they were in jogger fitness wear running. And so he heard gunshots, opened his door, sees a man running. So he pursues him with a loaded shotgun, runs up on him. And then once he runs up on him, he sees the guy is black. The police comes, they see the man, they find out the man's unarmed, and that's pretty much the incident. Now the media came and they, the man who was, detained or held in custody at the time, he was never arrested, so he never went to jail. There was never a complaint filed against Fetterman. It was all dealt with there. Now, it's against the law to carry a loaded gun and pursue someone or anything of that nature. But Fetterman, has argued the self-defense argument. There's been a lot of shootings in the area. At the time, there was a lot of shootings in Broderick. So they had a long gun violence issue for a while there. So that's how he justifies his behavior and his impulse. He said he did not know that man was black, and that pretty much, that wasn't even in his psyche. That was not in his intentions whatsoever. The individual, however, said that he felt like Fetterman did know he was black and he felt like he was being profiled. So he never filed a complaint. Fetterman never got arrested, never was charged for a crime. That's that. At the time, though, many people have since, again, critics of Fetterman, a lot of them support Conor Lamb and support other candidates, they have said that Fetterman was doing an attempted lynching. I personally, I think that's loaded. That's rhetoric. That's political rhetoric. There has been no one outside of some activists, some writers who've written opinion pieces that have framed it in that way. But attempted lynching is a very strong language. No reporter or journalist that have reported on the issue that has played the role of a reporter, not a columnist, not a blogger, none of that. But they've considered it. They have not called it attempted lynching. There's also been rhetoric calling it an act of vigilantism, which some critics and others have described as vigilantism. Fetterman has denied that and whatnot. So here's how things have gotten complicated since then. There's been a lot of people who have not really followed up on the man in question around this incident. And what we now know is that he has been incarcerated because he impersonated a service driver. I don't know if it was Lyft or Uber or something, but he basically kidnapped a woman, got in the car under the thoughts of him being a service driver, a car share driver, Uber, whatever, Lyft. I don't know which company it is, but he was driving the car and he kidnapped her and held her at knife point in Broderick. Now, let's back up. This happened many years after the initial encounter with Fetterman. Fetterman went off to get reelected in that district, that city, by an overwhelming amount of black voters. They supported him again, reelected him. They moved on. Fetterman then moved on to run for the Senate. He then moved on for lieutenant governor, won. This issue had been discussed then, but it was always kind of not brought up as much. And I was trying to figure out why. So he got reelected. But after his reelection, this individual, the same one who had accused Fetterman, kidnaps a black woman, get her, put her in the car, have her at knife point, right? So he's driving the car. The girl escapes, okay? She gets out the car. She contacts authorities and tells residents. The police gets him. He's been behind bars for many years. And the crazy part was that after she escapes out the car, he texts her and say to her he knows where she lives and knows where she works. And he's been behind bars for terroristic threats, endanger someone's life, terroristic threats, kidnapping, all of that type of stuff. It was bad. So, just to get even more complicated, right? Last year, the Inquirer reached out to him in prison. They sent him letters. Because remember, I was trying to find out who he was, and I didn't get any information. I'm independent journalist, so I didn't know how to find it. But when I found out this man's rap sheet, I was like, well, I don't know if I can even contact him, whatever. But they found a way to get letters to him, and he sent letters back. He, in his letter, and I'm going to quote because I think it's important for you all to see the quotes for yourself and understand what's going on. He basically was in a space where he felt like they asked him about that incident and how he felt about Fetterman. This is what they did. They asked him those questions. He said basically that Fetterman lied, that he did, feel like he was attacked by Fetterman or approached by Fetterman. However, he also had some other things to add to the conversation. And when I saw this is what got me kind of like, what's going on? He said, quote, this is the man. He said, even with everything I said, it is inhumane to believe one mistake should define a man's life. He wrote in 2 letters that were sent to the Inquirer. He also adds, quote, I hope he gets to be a senator. That line was underlined 3 times. He also further on says, Mr. Fetterman and his family have done far more good than that one bad act or action, and as such should not be defined by it. He signed that letter, quote, Go Fetterman. Y'all, the shit is complicated. The shit is complicated. I've never, in my years, have ever been under the impression where I've seen a situation as bizarre as this case. I think the question that I've had, and if I ever get a chance to speak to Fetterman and interview him, which would be cool, right? I want to interview all of them. Like, I would like to interview, Conor Lamb. I've spoken to Malcolm many times over the years, but, if he was open to talk about the race on the podcast, he's more than welcome to come on. My question would be, and I think this is the thing that I've asked critics about the incident, is that there was this vested interest around politics around this. And I think in politics, I know that people play dirty in politics, right? That there are people that will abuse and use and push an issue, not because they really sincerely think that is something seriously that should happen, but they will pull it out at a time where it's politically convenient. So Malcolm Kenyatta has spoken about this at a point in time. He would not call Fetterman a racist, right? But he went as far to talk about it, bring it up. And I thought to myself, well, did you ever talk about this to Fetterman any other time before you ran for office? Like all those times where y'all were liking each other's tweets and retweeting each other and being bros and having these, great times and taking pictures and being cool with each other and shouting each other out. Did you ever think to bring that up then? But then now you decide to speak and say something about it because it's politically convenient? To a lot of the Democrats and folks that have brought this up before, I wonder when he was running for lieutenant governor and these other positions and races, did you ever care enough to say something then? I mean, clearly people knew. And so I think there's something interesting here. It reminds me of with Hillary. It reminds me of Biden, right? Where there were a lot of people that brought up Biden's, history and past around issues around race and comments he made. And while for black people, regular black people that have consistently brought that up, that's one thing. But for some folks that try to use it, especially white people, others who've tried to play woke or try to insinuate that they were caring about criminal justice issues, it's interesting that they're trying to retroactively apply it because it benefits the candidate he's going against. And I think I'm very mindful, even as a journalist, to observe the difference between legitimate public concern and political concern. Because political concern is manipulating, right? Like if you're somebody that's pushing for a candidate and you're trying to bring up other people's dirty past or issues or whatever, I'm going to weigh that a different way than if it's like a legitimate coalition of regular voters or folks that are just, saying something about something. So with Hillary's situation, or even with Kamala Harris, there were a contingency of black voters that were not, a part of a political pack, or they weren't necessarily outsiders weighing in on a local race that was using rhetoric to steer public opinion, but they were just regular folks that were not a super delegate or whatever, undecided voters that had no skin in the race personally, right? That were bringing up those issues around Kamala's history, around policing, her views on cannabis and things of that nature. Those types of people are the people that fascinate me the most, and I'm interested in getting their thoughts on. As far as I know, there has not been this general public outrage. It's either been from people that are completely devout supporters of one candidate over another, right? Folks that's in that political space that are like skewed a certain way, candidates running for office, that kind of politics. And to me, I always side-eye that because there's one thing for a person to make a gaffe that gets everybody talking, and there's one thing for a very strong contingency of people that are politically motivated and while they're speaking are saying something. So I always question the integrity and legitimacy of people who use racism or use complicated situations like this to try to push a candidate there. That's always a red flag to me. But I have to look at certain things as well, and also how I assess judgment when it comes to this particular incident. This individual in question, I don't know if I necessarily believe them 100%, right? I don't know, because here's the thing. In those letters that was sent to the Inquirer, when they asked him about the incident for where he was incarcerated, he said he's currently behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. The evidence, the woman who accused him, the text messages, all of the evidence, he did it. And he literally is flat out lying to the press. So if he could lie about that, it makes me wonder what else he lies about. And why did he file the complaint? Why did he not do that? Why did he not? And even with everything that's happened, why did he feel like he had to go out his way to endorse Fetterman? He didn't have to endorse Fetterman. He could have just simply said, what happened to me happened to me. Good luck with that man on that race. But he really made a point to emphasize that this man should be forgiven, that this situation was one incident, and he doesn't think this should impact this man's political career. Okay. So, most times when incidents happen with people, there's a very clear, distinct no. In this situation, okay, this incident happened. Both of them are saying different things. This man does not look credible based on some of his own behavior and some of the things that he has done, even in those instances. I question a lot of his behavior. And people are saying you should not retroactively apply the crime he did in this situation to talk about the past. But I'm sorry, isn't that what they're doing with John Fetterman right now? Aren't people using that incident in the past to retroactively try to address his current situation? Like, I'm trying to figure out how does that logic do not stick. And so my questions I have asked for those who have criticized Fetterman. because I'm trying to bring this situation into full perspective as a voter. And again, what I think about when I talk about and criticize certain elected officials and their policies, because I want to link this into other candidates and their policies. So if you're going to say John Fetterman did an attempted lynching and an act of vigilantism, then you're basically calling him a white supremacist. None of these supporters will go that far to call him a white supremacist because, yeah, right? So that's just out the window. If I'm going to accuse someone of being attempted lynching and doing vigilantism towards black people, that's white supremacy. These Democrats don't want to go as far to do that, because if this man wins the nomination, you have given the Republican Party rhetoric that they can then use to make it hard for this man to win. And the Democrats can lose in November, arguably, if this is their front runner and you're basically trying to say he's a white supremacist. But they won't ever go as short as that. So my thing is, if you don't go as short as calling a thing based on what you're insinuating, then it must be a cowardice there that you will just go as far to plant the seed and not let the plant fucking grow. See, I'm the type of person where I'm like, if you're going to go there, go there. Like, I've called Joe Biden racist. I've said he has said racist things. He has done racism. This is racist, right? And what white people have to understand is that there's varying degrees of racism. Like, no one is 100%. Like, racism is not just saying the N-word. Racism is not just, saying a racial slur, hanging someone up a tree. Like, there's other ways, or wearing KKK, man. Like, there's other ways to be racist without that, right? So if you're not going to call a thing, then that's already a red flag for me. The second thing is that there should be this idea, right, that people say that if you're going to accuse people of things like this, you have to be able to connect and correlate it to their policies. So where in John Fetterman's policies, platform, or his time in political office that you think this type of behavior seeps in his policies? So like with Donald Trump, I consider Donald Trump a white supremacist, right? Donald Trump has said racist things, and the racist things that he has said has seeped through in his policies, right? He has put up Muslim bans, but he's also been Islamophobic, right? He has not supported the rights of transgender people in the military, but he's also has expressed a level of disdain for different identities and groups. Like, this is who he is. He's a bigot, and his policies are bigoted. So that tells me what I can know about him. Fetterman's political platform, his campaign, his policies, his agenda does not reflect that. It's largely progressive. I don't see anything in it that would suggest that he is the white supremacist, the vigilante, the attempted lyncher that these extreme Conor Lamb super fans are trying to frame him as, or these other politicos that are trying to use this to their political advantage. I don't see it in his policies. I don't see it in his life history. I don't see outside of this complicated incident, I don't see anything that would suggest that he has an issue with race in that type of way. Where is it in the platform? Where is it in the policy? I just think if you're going to go there, go there. And if you're not, you're playing with fire. And I feel like a lot of these people right now are playing with fire because it's cute to do it, to try to think that you're going to sway voters' opinion in primaries. But are you willing to bite that bullet? Because I remember, these Democrats, isn't the logic blue no matter who? Isn't that what they've been saying forever? So when Bernie Sanders lost, when the other liberal candidates, Elizabeth Warren, these other progressive candidates lost, didn't the lecture go to progressives and other voters, blue no matter who? Like, let's be clear, like, Joe Biden was not my top pick in the primary. He wasn't. But I didn't want to, vote Green Party. I voted for him in the general. I voted for Kamala Harris in the general. So when we use this type of language, you got to be very careful about what you're going to tell voters in the primary, because if you're going to use that kind of misinformation, that framing, that bad faith actor type shit, you got to recognize that that's going to shift the way people think about whoever wins that primary. Like, you can criticize candidates, but you got to be fair. You got to be accurate. You gotta recognize the difference between passionate rhetoric that's gonna literally do some real damage, and you gotta recognize fair, legitimate critique. Like, there's tons of critiques about Fetterman that's legitimate. Fetterman does not talk to the press enough. Fetterman does not seem to be in Philadelphia enough where he's engaging diverse voters more outwardly and publicly. Fetterman, Fetterman doesn't get along with Democrats. I don't know. Or does he not get along with Democrats? Because Democrats are not just those elected to office. They're also those who are voters and constituents, right? Let's be clear. He doesn't get along with the Democratic establishment. So because he doesn't get along with the Democratic establishment, that is a concern. I don't necessarily know if that's a concern to me as much. I don't know if a lieutenant governor has done anything that's bucked against. He's a lieutenant governor. He's not a state rep. He's not a state senator. I don't see politically where he's really going against these guys. He's just not sitting out having lunch and drinks with them. I just think we have to be very clear on what that means to get along. Because there's a lot of people in Harrisburg that want to sit up and have pleasantries all day and it be Joe Manchin's at night. Just saying. So with that in mind, right, looking at the policies, the platforms, I personally just think that the issue has not resonated enough with voters in Philadelphia or across Pennsylvania to the point where this is a big issue because there's so much ambiguity. There's so many complications with the, you have to, in order for this to work, right? You have to believe this man. And I feel like this man's credibility is questionable because of some of the things he's done, some of the things he himself has said. So what I mean by credibility is not just the credibility of what he said and what happened that night, but just even that the fact that he has changed his support in a way that is just so weird. So it's how do you advocate on behalf of someone who is now kidnapped, years later, kidnap a black woman? It's kind of being okay, what if, this is the way I would describe this. It just makes me think of this. Let's say back in the 80s, there was a prom. Back in the day, many years ago. And a white woman or a counselor, a white woman said to R. Kelly, you can't come to this prom. And because I think you're going to do something that is not okay. And I heard a woman screaming in a bathroom and I saw you and I thought it was you. And something about you or whatever, I just said no. And let's say that there was no profiling, because in Fetterman's case, he says he did not know if the man was black. So let's say that happens. But then years later, we know R. Kelly turns out to be the serial predator he is. Let's say that woman decides to run for office. How do we defend the R. Kelly in that situation where a retroactive incident happened many years prior? It's hard for me to cape for a black man that kidnapped another black woman at knife point and threatened her. I understand he had an incident that happened many years ago, but it's really hard for me to come out, especially when that same person is endorsing the person he has accused of racial profiling him. It's complicated. So I think a lot of people is saying, like the Democrats have always done, they're giving grace in this situation. They're looking at this as a isolated incident rather than a history. Now, if Fetterman had a history of doing shit like this, then I can see people saying, you know what? This is a problem. This is a this. This is a that. But it's really hard because we have seen in the Democratic Party, a lot of black people and people in general have given grace to people that I think have done far worse consistently. Joe Biden has been given grace. Hillary Clinton has been given grace. Bill Clinton has been given grace. And so when I see people trying to act like Republicans and crucify these people, if you're going to go after Fetterman and make all this insinuation and say all this, but y'all were the same people that was supporting people like Hillary, centrists and moderates. But it's so funny because when he's a progressive, then you want to use all of the woke appeals. All of a sudden, you know about Black Lives Matter. All of a sudden, you want to align with them on criminal justice in this way. But then you was out here supporting Biden when he said fund the police. So don't cherry pick it now. And that's why I know there's a lot of dishonesty. There's a lot of bad faith actors that are not actually here to get to the bottom of the situation. They're here to push a political agenda that favors a candidate that they prefer. You can't opt out like that. And for people like me who consistently cover issues like this and talk about race, this is one of the most bizarre case studies ever. Because in some sense, I do not feel comfortable accusing John Fetterman of racism. There are people who are upset that they want me to call him a racist. I'm not calling that man a racist. I'm not calling him a racist in this. I'm not accusing that man of attempted lynching. I'm not going to do that. I'm not calling it vigilantism. It's not my role to do that, and I'm not going to call it that. I think that him carrying the loaded gun was inappropriate. He has admitted to that. I think that, I'm not a fan of guns. I've made that very clear across the board. And I think that if there's people that really feel like he needs to address it more and more, he has. I read a piece that came out in the Atlantic last year, and he basically said, listen, voters got to choose, do they believe the man who basically impersonated a car service driver that kidnapped a woman or whatnot over someone like him who's had a long track record of addressing these issues, and as the record speaks for itself. I mean, he pretty much told voters, and I'm sorry, but when it comes to this issue, I feel like at the end of the day, the situation has been addressed. This man, in his own words, have addressed it. He's not asking for other people to weigh in. If he is the victim in this situation, if that's what he's trying to assume, that he's a victim in the situation, what his requests are, I respect whatever a victim's requests are. So if that's what he thinks and what he wants, then at the end of the day, I respect his opinion on it. So who am I to go a step further and try to, again, even though I'm already in a position where I already find all this to be suspicious, who am I to feel like I'm going to advocate on that person's behalf outside of what they've said before? That's just my opinion. That's how I look at it. I'm not going to, there's been no, it's very complicated. Because this is what brings me up to Jussie Smollett. And this is what brings me up to the Jussie Smollett situation. Because again, people have used incidents and not trying to address the elephant in the room, but trying to steer the conversation in a different direction. Like I said before, it's complicated. And at the end of the day, the people involved in this situation has made it more complex than what it already was. So that's Fetterman's flaws or his concern. I don't think it's been a big issue as much. I think there's been people that's been invested in trying to keep bringing it up, but there's always a circle back to what happened and who said what and what's happened there, and that's why it hasn't built momentum. Malcolm Kenyatta's situation is he doesn't have a lot of money, and I think there's also just this weird thing. He's got all these people endorsing him, but for whatever reason, it does not translate into people putting actual financial supporting. And so I do feel like there's a political virtue signaling here. I think that there's a lot of people that want to say they're supporting a black gay candidate out loud because it makes them feel good. But you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I'm just disappointed that for all these people endorsing him, why are they not out here having fundraisers with him? Why are they not out here raising money for him and getting him some money? Because to me, for all of the attention and all of the hype that has been put on this race, it is not translated to money for him. How do you have all these endorsements and you are still getting support largely from the Working Families Party? Like, where are the dollars and cents? Like, I just think there's a lot of hype there that is not being matched with actual money. But let me tell you something. Alexandra Hunt, the woman who's running against Dwight Evans for Congress, she's got some endorsements. She got some buzz. But for all the endorsements and the buzz that she has, it's also translating into money. Like, she's got close to $500,000 in the bank. So to me, that speaks volumes. That says something to me about how people feel about this race and feel about him and all of that. That there's a big deal. That's a big deal. So we got to talk about that. Like, we got to really explore that. We got to really look into what that means. But he's still running his race. And in spite of the party, I feel like the party has betrayed him. I have to say that. I'm a fair person. I think the party has betrayed Malcolm, in a sense, because he was the rising star. They used him and his identity for the DNC, to raise money for Hillary, to get hype for Biden. They've used him as the poster boy and a poster child for what will look like if you play by the rules. He was never against the establishment. He's always been the guy who the Democrats loved and propped up. That was his story. He comes from a lineage. He comes from that type of Philadelphia spirit. And for him not to have gotten that endorsement based on the fact that, Bob Brady says he doesn't have the money in the vote. So, there's a lot of people in the Democratic Party who didn't have the money or the polls and suggest they had a chance. And guess what? Y'all still showed up for those people because that's what the establishment do. They support their own. Regardless of what it looks like, if a person doesn't have the shot, they still show up for them. Because let me be clear, when you look at these polls between Connor and Fetterman, there's a wide gap. Okay, Fetterman is whooping that ass in the polls. I don't care how many times you slice and dice those polls. I didn't see about 5 or 7 different polls. Some of them polls conducted by Fetterman's team, some not. And no matter how it moves, he is kicking ass. It is bad. Those poll numbers, in spite of all the stuff going on, those poll numbers, there is a wide gap. Okay? And it's just, and this is amongst Democrats. I just don't know how they're going to close that gap in time, because it just keeps getting, it's just not, there's no room. And Malcolm being in the race, has also ate up those percentage polls of whatever, Connor thinks he's entitled to, or what they think may go to Fetterman. Malcolm is in situations that gotten better than Connor in certain polls. But no matter what the poll is, Fetterman has had the most. So far, he is the front runner, money-wise and polls-wise. They just can't stop him right now. But when I look at the Connor Lamb support from the Democratic establishment in Philadelphia, I'm like, you all are trying to make a miracle with him as well. You got somebody who doesn't have as much name recognition. Yes, he has won some tough races. That is very true. But he's not polling that well. And his money is a lot higher than Malcolm's. But you're just doing it on principle. So the fact that Malcolm has consistently not been getting the support, even though he has gotten along with the establishment. Because let's be clear, Fetterman not getting support by the establishment is not a surprise to anybody that lives in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He's just showing up to show, favor. But at the end of the day, no one is surprised he's not getting those endorsements. Nobody is shocked. And so for the national folks, it's like, look at him not getting this. I don't determine my votes, and most people don't determine their votes largely by if the party is extremely backing. There will be people who have voted the opposite way. I think of Larry Krasner, the DA in Philadelphia. The establishment hates Larry Krasner, but the people love him. And he has an overwhelming number of votes every single time he runs. He kills it. And the establishment will not back him. Helen Gim, city councilwoman at large. The establishment hates Helen Gim. But that woman keeps getting the motherfucking votes. So Philadelphians, local voters, do not always go in the interests of what the party does. Oftentimes, they will buck at the party if they thought the party is playing a little dirty. In this Senate race, I've talked to people on the ground, and they have mixed views about how the party has been acting. Even though they're not supporting Malcolm, some of these people, they don't like the way Malcolm's being done. I don't think Malcolm's going to win personally, but I don't think that he should have to drop out. I don't think he should have to drop out. I think that this is his way of acting in defiance. I think he should buck up against them. I think that he should do what he needs to do to run his race. Why should a black candidate always have to drop out? And I know that this is contrary to what I've said in previous episodes, but I'm going to say why my mindset has changed on it, because of the fact that I feel like my mindset is that I'm thinking from the side of a Democratic Party strategist that, Malcolm, people are saying he's a spoiler candidate for Lamb. But on a personal level, on a social justice level, I just don't feel like that's his problem. Like, if the party wants to push Connor Lamb, they should be making Connor Lamb be viable to beat not only Fetterman, but Malcolm. They should be making him able to topple both of these dudes. He should be strong enough to win in a 3-person race. And if they don't think he is, then that means that they should have thought about what was up with Malcolm and thought about it differently. So at the end of the day, they should be expecting him to stay in this race, and they should be trying to work to get Connor to win in spite of Malcolm being in the race. There should be no thoughts of push to tell him to drop out for the name of Connor. Why should this black man drop out to make this white man win? No, you came to Philadelphia, you worked your magic, you've convinced some people that you can win. Well, you got to go win. And that should not come at the expense of a black gay candidate dropping out just because you all feel like that's the weakest link. I think that's not fair. I feel like at the end of the day, Malcolm is probably in the mindset. He's like, look, I'm going to run my race and do what I do, because let's be clear, the documentary needs to keep running. The footage needs to keep going. At the end of the day, there's been a lot of people that's invested in his race, Working Families Party is being one of them that really have put their neck out there to get him a campaign manager to do that work. The SEIU has come out there and supported him. PTA, PFT, Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, they have come out there to support him. He can't turn his back on a lot of these folks. And there's other counties out here that Dauphin County, I think there was not enough votes for him to get the endorsement, but he largely had the support. There's other counties, I think Chester, other counties that are endorsing Malcolm. So at the end of the day, look, he got to do what he got to do. And I don't think he should drop out the race, because at the end of the day, he's got his own momentum going for him. I don't think the momentum's going to land to winning, but there are people that think that him staying in the race is going to hurt Conor Lamb, which I can see that, but that's not his problem. And it really isn't his problem, because at the end of the day, he is here for him, which y'all should have known that before. And Conor Lamb's got to do what he's got to do to get these votes. Listen, politics is not easy. And Fetterman is probably somewhere, probably smiling with a grin, maybe, that Malcolm is still in the race. He's probably like, cool. Maybe that's what his stance is. Or not. Maybe his stance is like, damn, maybe the progressive votes that Malcolm is getting is hurting him. I don't know. Because the funny part is that what I do know is that a lot of the Democrats, clearly, that have endorsed Malcolm, if Malcolm dropped out, I don't think that those Democrats would turn around and endorse Fetterman. I think they would support Conor Lamb. As long as Malcolm stays in the race, whatever that outward pour of support would have been for Malcolm in some of these cases, not all of the cases, but I have talked to some state reps who did endorse Malcolm, and I asked them, if you don't support Malcolm, who would you be supporting in this race? And they said that they probably would either stay out of it or they would support Conor. But those were state reps. Voters, which is interesting, a lot of those voters also said similar things, that if Malcolm, they're supporting Malcolm because they like Malcolm, but if Malcolm wasn't there, they would probably vote for Conor. I haven't seen, I don't think, so Malcolm's votes and Conor's votes are intersected, it seems like, based on my observation. Listen, I could be wrong, but I'm just thinking of early analysis. I feel like Malcolm's and Conor's are within the same party, because they're getting along with the party, they're playing with the party. So by them playing with the party, that's creating this dynamic that makes them think, what they think about viability. So maybe Malcolm is hurting Conor Lamb, but again, that's not Malcolm's problem, because at the end of the day, Malcolm is running his own race. Conor Lamb's got to run his own race. So now he has to answer for, one, how does he make up for the financial gap that he doesn't have in finance revenue and campaign dollars that Fetterman has over him? That's one gap that Conor Lamb has to address. He also has to address the gap between the lost votes that he's going to keep getting from Malcolm supporters, and he's got to figure out how to build on that, and he's got to figure out how to build that financial, close that gap. I think that's mission impossible. I'm not saying that he's not going to be able to pull it off. I'm just saying that sounds like mission impossible. So, if I was a voting man today, I was predicting the race, I would say Fetterman is going to win. If I was to predict today, first day of spring, okay, I would say Fetterman is going to win this primary. And there are people that's upset because they think that he can win the general. They're saying Conor can win the general. Well, listen, if Conor can't even win amongst Democrats in his own party, in his own primary, then what makes you think he's going to win there? The moderate case. So some of the people I've heard, the biggest critique about Conor Lamb that I have heard is that he's extremely moderate, to the point where he voted 70% in favor of whatever Trump's, his ideals, his beliefs have aligned 70% with Trump's voting record. They are calling him a little Joe Manchin. There's been a lot of people equivocating Joe Manchin and Conor Lamb based on how moderate Conor Lamb is. There's a lot of critiques, and this is something that's definitely have stood out about Conor Lamb's policies and how he votes. Now, his success is that he's so middle of the road that he has won over Republicans in races, and that's been in Western PA. And so there's a thought that he could probably do the same statewide. The problem is the Democratic Party. He is so far to the right in the sense that some people think that he's not even moderate. He's even something extra. Because I mean, even Joe Manchin, I don't even feel like Joe Manchin is moderate. Like Connor is so centrist to the point where it's like that's gonna hurt you in a primary because primary, no one's saying that you got to be extremely gun ho progressive. Clearly not, but you got to be a little liberal, right? You got to show some leverage there. And Connor Lamb does not feel like that to voters, and I think that's also what's hurting him. And so, he's also a white guy who doesn't have edge. Like Connor, like Joe Fetterman, I mean John Fetterman. John Fetterman is a white man that has this edge to him, right? He's got this appeal that does not just give you color by the numbers, suit and tie, white political like Fetterman, like Lamb. And so I think that's also shaking up some stuff. Because how are white voters at large showing up and going up for Fetterman? Aren't those supposed to be the same type of voters that Lamb's supposed to be getting right now? It's just not adding up. So I don't know. It's just a lot of things are not sticking. And a lot of people better make them stick if they want to see what happens in this May 17th primary. But I'm following the races, y'all. I'm looking at what's happening. I'm keeping my eyes there. And we're going to see how it plays out. So speaking about elections, here I go. The other critique about Connor Lamb that came up, because I definitely want to bring this up because someone literally sent this to me. There's been he has a lot of labor support, but he's been campaigning in Philadelphia, as y'all know this, with Bobby Heenan, the currently convicted city councilman who just now is no longer a city councilman, who was indicted on political corruption with Johnny Dock, the big labor boss. He's been campaigning with labor across Philadelphia and been in around the circles of Bobby Heenan. It's not a good look, Mr. Lamb. Not a good look. So, speaking of corruption and trials, Kenyatta Johnson, City Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, him and his wife, Dawn Chavot, the trial starts for them along with, Raheem Islam and others who connected to allegations of political corruption. They're saying that Kenyatta was using his seat to basically help his wife, and others have special privileges and zoning opportunities and money, and it's all corrupted. It's all a lot of corruption going on, alleged. Okay. On Friday night, he had a big, huge prayer gathering at a church in South Philly. They put hands on him and his family, prayed for them, and 200 people were there. Some elected officials were there. State Rep Jordan Harris, State Senator Anthony Williams, of course, who's a big, Kenyatta, Shavu, he's been in the mix. This is his family. A lot of politicos were there. It was a big talk around town. And they were there to pray for them. And really, there was critiques about the media and how the media would make it look. And, he's innocent until proven guilty. All of that stuff is being said. Which is fair. Innocent until proven guilty. Correct. But let's be clear. The feds have a very high conviction rate. When the feds go in, when the feds come marching in, oh, how I don't want to be in that number. When the feds come knocking in. They come knocking in Philadelphia often. Okay, there's a lot of Democrats who have definitely had the feds come knocking in. And these are clearly not saints. It takes a lot to convict a elected official. There's a process. The only person I know who escaped indictment in recent memory was Larry Farnese, who's no longer a state senator. But he's the only one that was able to get past that. But 9 times out of 10, which literally over 90% conviction rate that they have. And they got evidence, right? They got evidence and the evidence sticks. And so now it's up to a jury that's going to decide this week when the trial begins whether or not Kenyatta is going to be convicted, whether Don Chavot, his wife, is going to be convicted. It's going to be tough. I don't know how he's going to be able to swim his way out of this. I don't know how they are. But it's sad, and there's a lot of things there. But they've been on a huge media crusade. His wife has recently, conveniently wrote a children's book. And, she's been getting buzz. They've been really on a good image campaign. Kenyatta has been the most vibrant he's ever been in a while. I mean, has been going out making public appearances. Like he's really carrying his stride. Like he's really out here trying to really get the public on his side. And I get it. He's fighting for his career, his reputation. It's no laughing matter, essentially. But at the same time, it's like I know for a long time there's been many people who have said that, this councilman and councilmatic prerogative, right? That this man and his family, they should really think about these deals and these relationships. I can't tell you how many times people I know, activists, have been critical about what was going on in Point Breeze and going on in South Bend area. And you just gotta sometimes listen to people, man. I know Kenyatta. I've known him. I've have known him when I was a communications fellow. He went to Penn. He got his graduate degree there. He's outside of this, right? He's a good guy. And a lot of them are, right? People say Chaka Fatah's a good guy, right? I don't think he's not a bad guy. Seth Williams was a little annoying though. Like that when the DA got convicted, he was always a little arrogant when I had seen him. But different people change. I mean, Seth Williams is trying to reform himself now and be this guy, but he's also kind of bitter at Krasner because he's not in that seat. But there's a lot of there's complexities, and I don't think these people are completely bad people. But at the end of the day, when you do certain crimes, you have to be accountable for them. And so, if in fact he's found guilty, it's going to be a lot because what's being alleged, what's being assumed about him, it's no laughing matter. So we got to see what's going to come of this race, and not this race, this trial, and what it's going to mean. Because if he is convicted, this is going to be the second vacant seat that's going to have to be filled. Bobby Heenan just had his seat filled, and we're doing this right before the primaries of 2023. So there's going to be a lot of shakeup in city council. But that's if he's found guilty, right? So I don't want to jump ahead, but listen, if the feds indict you on massive charges, something is most likely going to stick. So probability and statistics are not on Kenyatta's side. I'm not saying that he can't beat the case. I'm just saying that it's looking highly unlikely, and that's why people have to really pay attention to what's being said. But don't throw shots at the media. Don't throw shots at journalists like myself and others that are going to be following this and seeing what's going on. So just wanted to put that out there. But we'll see what happens during the trial. And of course, you all know on Ernestly Speaking, we'll be having updates on what has happened during the first week if they don't wrap up soon enough. Speaking of trials and being freed, Jussie Smollett. Y'all, I thought last week was going to be the last time I was going to talk about Mr. Smollett, but clearly the saga goes on. So Jussie, after less than a week behind bars, he got released. The judge filed he's currently filed an appeal to fight the case, but in that, the courts, 2 out of 3 judges who reviewed the appeal or whatnot felt like he should not be behind bars during his appeal. Which I agreed from day one that I thought that jail time was excessive. I never thought that he should be behind bars. I think he needs help, but I don't think he needs to be behind bars. And I also think that for the crime itself, that it didn't require the jail time, even though I listened to what the judge was saying. And I think the judge felt like jail time was a punishment more than a rehabilitation. I think he just felt like the punishment should be there and there should be a penalty. But he's been released. But and that's happening while he has his appeal. I don't think he's going to win his appeal, and I think he's actually going to go worse because of that. But like at the end of the day, it's like, come on, like let this like. I wonder what would have happened if he just would have took a plea. Seriously, like if he just would have took a plea. What has made this annoying, though, is that the family has really made this, free Jussie movement, this pseudo movement. It's not a real movement. Let me be very clear. There's no strong, like massive Black activist groups and following. Yes, there are some Black Lives Matter influencers and leaders that are like weighing in, but a lot of this looked like it's clout chasing. I'm like, I saw Patrisse Cullors, who to me, in my opinion, is in no position to really be out here trying to talk, right? But she was on there, and I'm wondering, are any of those people being paid? I don't know if they are, I don't know if they're not, but I just wonder if some of these people are like being paid to go out and stick their necks out in this way, because I just find it really interesting. that they're all just jumping out here. There's so many other cases and incidents that involve the injustice of Black people. And I just don't find this to be an injustice to that magnitude that requires all of this energy. Look at a light-skinned celebrity, right? A light-skinned Black male celebrity that has a rich family and a powerful, influential Hollywood circle that's able to get out of jail and revert and get this support within less than a week. And they're really trying to equate and act like this is going to be the energy they put on a lot of other people. There's a lot of other cases and folks that deserve to be free, that don't have fancy, lifestyles and money and lawyers and legal teams and agents and folks that can push for these things. It's just a lot of privilege here. And what annoys me the most outside of that, I mean, fine, the man should be free. I don't think he should be behind bars. But what I don't like has been this false equivalency between comparing this incident to other crimes. Like, I've heard people talk about Emmett Till, like, Taraji P. Henson. And I love Taraji. I think she's a great entertainer. But like, why do we have to go as low and as far as comparing like these incidents to other crimes involving people like Emmett Till? That's just, to me, not it, right? Like, all the people you are acknowledging are folks that were guilty, that should have been in trouble, that should have had penalties. Jussie Smollett lied, y'all. He did it. He definitely did it. And at the end of the day, you could say that this is excessive without having to name drop Trayvon Martin, Emmett Till, and other innocent Black people who actually were, done wrong by the system on a higher level. I am just tired of folks always embedding and invoking traumatic Black historical moments to try to uphold or defend fuckery. Like, at the end of the day, what Jussie did was fuckery. And it was serious fuckery. And the implications was fuckery. Like, this dude was really obsessed with trying to get something popping in this country. I'm not going to call it a race war. That's extreme rhetoric. But he really was about to turn shit upside down behind something for his own self-interests. And he put other people in harm's way and put other people in other bad scenarios. Because here's the thing. Those two Black men, right? They got taken up by the police. What if things fared differently? What if this did their... Yes, they brought it on themselves. Let's be clear. But at the end of the day, what would have happened in the interrogation room? Right? What if they didn't cooperate? What could have happened to those men in their future? Jussie was going to lead them people out there like that? Like, what if they didn't say anything? What if they took that L? Was Jussie not going to sit up there and defend them? Like, what would have happened? And so there's a lot of questions I have about this support, because Jussie literally has shown in this situation that he will take symbols, lynchings, right? He will take rope and things of that nature and will utilize and abuse his relationships with activist groups and the community at large to try to gain attention to himself. It was the ultimate stunt queen move. And that's not fair. That's not fair to those people who have gone through real traumatic experiences. It's not fair. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's one thing to fake a hate crime. But bro, you took ropes and you took symbols and you made lies about things. You literally took Trump, like you really did the fucking most. And there is a lot of disgust and hurt and upset and frustration. Like, that is so fucked up. Because there's a lot of Black queer people out there, like myself and others, that are trying to get people to really take these issues seriously. And you've allowed another opportunity for people to discredit the work that people like myself and others do in these communities around these issues. Fuck you for that. And so, no, I'm not going to sit up here and act like this man is just such a martyr. Because this also feeds his fucking ego. He's wanted this from the jump. So now we're reliving the attention seeking that he wanted the first time. He's got a fucking problem. Something is really wrong up there. And his family, right, to be that delusional, to go there. And I get it. Family gonna be whatever. But everybody else, stop it. Everybody else, cut it out. Cut the fucking hashtag out. Stop it. Now that he's out of jail, that like, we should not be saying free Jussie anymore. I'm over it now. He's out of jail. Over it. You're good. You got what you wanted. Now, if you're going to go to trial and do what you do, go to trial. Go to trial, go through the process. We're done here. This is over. Like, free Jussie. Jussie's been freed. Now, whatever. Like, it's over. I don't give a fuck about like anything else past that. Like, I don't no writing letters, Cook County, just stop it. It's over. It's like, this is enough. And it's just a lot because he just want to fall on this sword. He wants to die on this hill. He won't let this go. Somebody I know said they wish that Jussie held on to, like, they wish somebody would held on to them as tight as Jussie is holding on to this lie. Exactly. So in other news, before wrapping up, there's been a lot of talk about this Bad Boys Club show. It premieres this weekend. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be a big damn deal. First of all, it's a problematic show. And to be clear with everyone, I mean, listen, if you don't have Zeus Network and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. It's okay. But for those who definitely saw that trailer, it's a Bad Boys Club. What is Nally Nunn doing? She's choosing violence yet again. There was Bad Girls Club, which was a hit on, I believe Oxygen or WeTV. I think it's WeTV. I never watched Bad Girls Club. I've heard about it. But they've now created a Bad Boys Club that's on Zeus, which, I've had a Zeus subscription recently, and I've been telling y'all how much I'm addicted to the show and the channel. It's the most raw, purest form of reality TV that you're going to get anywhere else. But, it's wild. Like, they're showing, there's nudity, there's cursing, there's real fights. I mean, it's salacious TV. So this show has, like, Kirk Franklin's son, who is, I think he's gay. I don't know 100%, but I think that's what's being implied based on the trailer. But he talks about his relationship with his dad, which is just so messy. Because Kirk Franklin, I think, I've met Kirk Franklin. I've interviewed Kirk Franklin many times. I've met him. And from what I've seen, he seems like a very nice guy and a very progressive Christian, I would say. He has apologized to the LGBTQ community about how the Black church has been homophobic and whatnot. So I'm kind of surprised that he is being accused in this situation of, we never know what goes on in people's private lives and households. But I'm curious to see this show. I'm also a little disappointed in the son because I just feel like, okay, you've had these experiences with your dad, and I get that. But, like, do you think that being on a show like this, not to say you should be on a show, but like a show like this is the best place to air your laundry? I mean, to get a check? I mean, is this really what you want to do? I just question that part of it. Like, and then, of course, Christopher Milan, who was on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood many, many moons ago, is on this show. The guy who's, I'm not gay no more, I'm delivered, or whatever, he's on the show. A lot of Instagram personalities. There's another guy. He's gay, and he's hype. He had a very big slogan, and I keep seeing his face, but he's on the show. And Where the Money Reside, the Where the Money Reside guy is, I think, on this show. I think that was him I saw. So I'm confused. I was like, you're on this show too? Like, they got all these popular Black, like, social media influencers to be on this show, and reality TV stars. And then, of course, there's straight men too on the show, and they're clashing. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to the season premiere, which is this weekend. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to report back to y'all what I think, but it's interesting. Bel-Air, oh, so good. It's growing on me, but it's on me now. It's not even growing anymore. It's on me. I'm here for the show. This latest episode was fire. If you have not seen it, get Peacock, y'all. Get a subscription. It's worth it. Like, seriously, watch Peacock. Watch this show. It's special. It's doing a damn thing. It's a great saga. I don't know how many episodes are left, but the momentum is building and building. Like, I'm getting somewhere. I'm trying to get there. I mean, it's definitely built up the suspense and upping the ante. I'm really feeling this show. And I feel like Carlton and Will are finally in a good place, because I've been trying to figure out where that's going to happen. In other news, the College Hill remake. I just don't know how I feel about this. I don't like this, y'all. I don't. As an HBCU professor, I am completely, like, mortified that they're remaking College Hill. Now, let me be clear. The original, for people that don't know College Hill came out when I was so young. And a lot of people attribute and say that it was a show, it was a reality show that was really messy. Very, very messy. It was really weird. And it was in the phases when reality TV wasn't really high graphics. Like, people didn't really know what to do on reality TV. So there were like the awkward moments, but they would be really salacious. But reality TV now has become a full-on spectacle. But I grew up in the era where I saw reality TV evolve. And it's definitely evolved. But College Hill was on BET back in the day, many years ago. Many years ago. And it was exciting because it was like these were black kids at a HBCU, and they were college students, and they were regular folks, but they were having their interesting love triangles. And it was like one of the first shows, reality shows, where I was like, oh, there's black people in college, and they're like having, like, college was, I felt like it was exciting. Like, that's college. If College Hill's gonna be like that, I'm excited. Like, I was like, okay, but I mean, clearly I went to, Penn, and there was some College Hillness in there. Like, there was some interesting dynamics. But they were an HBCU, and it was exciting. But I remember there were mixed reviews about College Hill. There were people that felt like, to some extent, in a good way, it was highlighting HBCUs to get people excited about going to HBCUs in college. But it also was a problem to people because it perpetuated certain stereotypes and also did not really show a lot of achievement in this pursuit. Like, these kids were often fighting, sleeping with each other, fighting, and it was just so much drama that we never really got too caught up in the achievement level. Like, there was some people that was a part of the band, there was some people interested in the sciences. I'm just recalling some of what I remember. But now they're doing it at Texas Southern University, which is in Texas, and I'm just sitting there like, okay. But this time it's a celebrity edition where these celebrities like Ray J and Mimi Faust, they're going to an HBCU and they're studying there, and the reality show is centered on them. Why did anyone think this? I'm so sick of Ray J being on a reality show. I know he's one of the biggest like draws to reality TV. Like, people cannot get enough of him. Like, I just feel like anytime Ray J, Jocelyn Hernandez, who else is a reality? Like Ray J, Jocelyn. You can't do a reality show without none other than Safari. Like Safari, Rich. There's like certain people who have become reality TV magnets that like they're literally on every reality type of show and they just fit. But Ray J, I feel like, is the king of reality TV. Like, Ray J has had so much reality TV that like I just don't know what to do with him. Like, he's been on every show, he's on all 1,000 shows, and for whatever reason, people really like love seeing him on reality TV. Like, he's a reality TV star. And I get it, right? And so now he's on this. And I guess he's like the selling point. Like I know there's an audience. If Ray J's on it, people are going to watch it. I guess I'm one of those people too. I don't know. Like, I don't care. I just don't like this concept. I'm really upset about this because HBCUs have been having a rebirth. Clearly. They've been in the public mind. Vice president is an HBCU grad. A lot of people are talking about HBCUs in a different light. And I just feel like this just brings a stupid, like, unnecessary stereotype perpetuation of just bad stereotypes about HBCUs and the black people that go there. And like, why are these people there? Like, are they trying to get a certificate? They're clearly not there to get a bachelor's degree. Like, are they in some certificate program? We're supposed to just see them going to college, but then they're also fighting in drama while they're like, quote unquote, playing like they're college students. I just think it's weird. I just think it's unnecessary. And there's just so much other things that can be done. Let all these celebrities cut checks to donate to the HBCU and just bounce out. I just think to do a whole show like this, I don't know. I just think it's going to be bad. And then wrapping up, other bad things. So there's been a lot of talk about the scammer shows that's been rising. I'm not against them. These scammer shows around, white people and their shenanigans are just hilarious. Like, there's a lot of them out. There's Inventing Anna. There is this new one that came out called We Crashed, which has Anne Hathaway in it, and also Jared Leto, which is interesting. There's a lot of energy there for this, but there's a lot of people talking about it. Other scammer shows, Bad Vegan just dropped. It just came out. Which is not that bad. I find the show to be entertaining, and it's been a lot to watch and observe, but it's yeah, it's a lot. And I don't know yet how I feel about that show, about these shows. Let me think. There was another show that I was looking at that was also top scammer. And people have been trying to act like, oh, The Dropout. The Dropout. No, The Dropout was pretty good. But there's been this theme of like white women and white people in scams. Here's what I make of it. I think that every time there's a moment of economic disparity or social unrest or things of that nature, there is a societal interest in seeing very, very rich, powerful people go down or fail or be humbled. And that's just a pattern. I think about the recession when there was a rise of that during the recession in 2008. There was like 2010, there was like those movies that showed rich people like having like humbleness and hardships or some type of whatever. We get obsessed with like that on a certain level. Even when I think about secession, like there's that interest in like lavish, like super powerful rich people's lives and their problems. There's a pattern there. And I feel like now people are interested in the like white woman who thought she was bigger than life that fucks up energy in these shows. Because they're all coming out at the same time. And I don't think that's by coincidence. Definitely by design, in my opinion. But there's some that are good and there's some that are bad. And I also wonder, will there be backlash in the result? Because I'm hearing people say like they don't want to see Inventing Anna, or they saw how this white woman had no credentials, can't get a loan, and got support by Walgreens. But you see a lot of black creators that can't even get that type of support. So I wonder if we're not having the follow-up conversations to think about how this situation can lead to like how we're going to address the system that way, that we're going to keep perpetuating it. Like there needs to be a lesson here. And I think that kind of, I don't know if that's getting brushed over by people or they're just fascinated by how they epically fail. It's like, I don't care about that. I'm more interested in seeing, okay, what the fuck happened, beyond that. So my thoughts on that. But I can't wait. It's the beginning of spring. As you can see, spring is here. Making some moves, getting some things done. I'm really excited. I'm just feeling good. March Madness is here, of course, and so much good things are on the horizon. And as always, like I tell people, wear a mask to watch out for that bad breath. Enjoy some time in the sun. Go Oscars. I'll be quick on my Oscar predictions, y'all. I think The Power of the Dog's gonna win Best Picture. Look, Jane Campion, I heard about that situation with Venus and Serena. She's apologized. Child, I'm like, white people in. Like, white people just been, like I said before, all those anti-racism books and stuff that happened in 2020 came and went for these people. That's all I'm going to say on that part. But like, I'm rooting for Power of the Dog. Will Smith, go ahead and give him the Oscar this time, y'all. Seriously. Troy from Coda, which is a good film. I'm hearing that Coda may pull that upset and win Best Picture. I hope not. Listen, y'all, I like the film, but it was giving me Lifetime movie quality. I don't think it should win. But I know people hate Netflix and they want a Netflix film to win. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But Power of the Dog is a really good movie. Best Actress is so hard. But you know what? I'm going to support Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I really do like Jessica Chastain. I know that Kristen Stewart could pull the upset or win, and she is good in that as well. But Jessica Chastain, though, I don't know, something about that gives me an Oscar-winning performance. And I like her. So we'll see what happens in that role. But that's going to be the race to watch. Like, that's going to be the race to watch. Everyone's going to be biting their nails to see who's going to win that Oscar. Best Supporting Actress, is Ariana DeBose. I think a lot of people think she's going to win for West Side Story. I think everybody knows she's going to win or expects she's going to win, but you just never know. Summer of Soul, Best Documentary. Come on, Questlove. I think he's going to win. Best Original Song. It'd be nice to see Beyonce win. That'd be fun. I mean, Lin Mirandez, right, getting an EGOT finally for winning an Oscar might be interesting. But I just think Billie Eilish might pull it off for No Time to Die, and I love me some Billie Eilish. So I don't know, but it's looking like she's going to win. Another James Bond song. Three's the charm, y'all. So we'll see. We'll see. What was it? We'll see. Who else? Who else is doing some interesting things? Those are the big ones. But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing, Will Packer, who directed Girls Trip, longtime Black film director, is directing these Oscars. He's changing it up this year. He's doing some different stuff. They're cutting some of the categories, so we don't have to watch them all. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So, but until then, as always, be well and be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Earnestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.